So I got a follow-up to this evaluation on part 3 here. And I thought, like I said, I was going to spray that up, let it soak with penetrating oil. I like to use PB Blaster. Everybody's got their favorite stuff. But I grew up on a farm, and this seemed to be the stuff that always worked for us. It don't evaporate, so you can leave it soak on there for days. And I thought I would test this coil, because I'm curious. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. So I got my Fluke 177, and I got these little, these are Pomona Electronics little grab leads. And I gotta give a shout out to Shango on the Shango 066 channel. He kind of turned me onto these because you can just clip them on. Like, for example, you can clip it on to really, let me clean that up. You can clip that lead onto a very fine wire or a pin on a circuit board, and it leaves you, it's like a third hand, you know, it leaves you able to, Lucas, I'm making a video. It lets you clip that on there, and then, you know, you can take your other lead, and you can still hold that out and measure, or you can clip it also. But I'm going to set my meter to ohms range, and the service manual says this coil should measure about 90 something ohms. So we're going to see. We're going to see if we got continuity here. And let's see. My meter zeroes out, so I got continuity. Now I'm just going to ride along just like that ball bearing did and see if I can get different resistances along here. So down here I should get close to nothing, which I'm getting about an ohm. And the further I go up, if there's no brakes, the resistance should climb, which it is. It should just keep going up. And I should theoretically get to a higher resistance as I climb up. Now I'm at the far end of it, and I'm getting about 45 ohms, which is about half what they said, but sometimes they change things, you know. There's revisions. And they do put different resistors on the back of the tilt trim gauge. So that resistor could very well affect how this resistor reads. But as long as it's a steady, like halfway, it should be like 22 something, and it is. So I would say this is good. This is usable. The only thing that really concerns me about this part is this ball bearing is crammed into there, and it's all kind of full of crap. But I think that could be salvaged if we clean that out and get the spring out and take a fine knife in there and get that back into spec. I would have to put this back in anyway, because otherwise you'd have a big hole on the side of the cylinder and all your oil would just shoot right out the side. It would never hold any pressure. At the very least, I'd have to find some sort of plug that would match this sort of geometry here, and this Teflon washer would have to go back on, and I would have to at least plug that opening if I wasn't going to use this. So, well, that is how you check that part. So this bobbin is good. This bobbin sender is good. So that's how you do that. As far as getting this apart, let's look into the service manual and see if there is an O-ring in there in the parts view. Now that's actually the other cylinder. Here we go. Now, in the piston bearing, inside that tube, that's where it's all rusted right there. It threads into that part there, And inside of here, on the other side of the ram, there's what they call the rod stop. That must just stop the rod from falling out of the cylinder. But I'm not seeing any sort of O-ring inside of that. They would show it if there was an O-ring in there. There would be some sort of depiction of an O-ring inside there. And if that's the case, I might not even try to get that apart. I may just try to somehow flush the interior out as best I can, just to prevent that grit from contaminating the tilt trim unit. And I'll call it good. If I can get that to come apart, maybe I will, but it's one of those cases where if you take it apart, you may regret it, so I'll think on that. Alright, thank you. Stay tuned for more.